This trout nugget is simply named Steelhead nymph. However, this works for trout as well. It's a super simple pattern to tie and an exceptionally fishable one at that. This pattern calls for a Firehole 317 scud peep hook in a size 10. Start by getting the hook firmly secured in the jaws of your tying vise. I then load 2 bobbins, one with UTC 70 denier in fluorescent chartreuse and the other with UTC 70 denier in brown. Start your tying thread right at the hook point, then take several wraps rearward well into the hook bend. Once you're done dressing, snip or cut the tag off close. The tail and the wing case in this fly is made up of pheasant tail fibers. Strip 6 to 8 pheasant tail fibers free perpendicular to the stem, then snip the curlies off. Measure out a tail about 1 hook gap in length, then transfer the measurement to the thread position. Starting with a pinch wrap, take 4 to 5 good wraps of tying thread to secure the pheasant tail fibers to the hook shank. Once secured, end with your thread at the initial tie-in point. Then fold the pheasant tail fibers over and take a wrap or 2 to secure them. Then return your thread to the base of the tail. Hang your first bobbin somewhere out of the way of your vise and start the chartreuse thread right behind the back of the wing case. Take a few wraps back and snip or cut the tag off close. Spin your bobbin counterclockwise to uncord and flatten the tying thread, and then take several wraps back and forth to build a smoothly tapered body on the fly. Once completed, reach for your whip finish tool and use it to do a 4 or 5 turn whip finish and tie off the chartreuse thread. We won't be using it any further. Now grab the first bobbin and give it a healthy clockwise spin to cord up the strength of the thread. Then take 7 to 8 open spiral wraps to create a ribbed and segmented body on the fly. Once you've reached the wing case, uncord your tying thread and take a few wraps directly in front of it to essentially save your work. Now go back to the same pheasant tail feather as before and strip off another 6 to 8 fibers to help accentuate the wing case. Only this time, trim off the delicate tips as well. With the tips of the pheasant tail fibers facing forward, take a pinch wrap to secure the pheasant tail fibers to the hook shank. Follow that with 6 to 7 wraps, then bind down the few remaining fibers. Here I wrap forward because I like to outline where the dubbing should end. Ice dub, here in olive, is used to form the thorax on the fly. Laser dub is also a good alternative. Pull an ample clump from the packet and prepare for the next step. Take the clump and card it to help align the fibers. Repeat this step several times. Put this clump down and save it for later. Pull down on your bobbin to expose 3 to 4 inches of tying thread. With your finger, double the thread over top of the hook to form a composite loop. Then take 2 to 3 wraps around the legs of the loop to close it off. Retrieve the clump of dubbing we prepped from earlier. While placing a middle finger on the inside of the loop, use your other hand to slip the dubbing into the loop. A dubbing whirl is used to twist a loop to create a dubbing rope. There are many styles, but the one shown is a loon whirl. Place the whirl into the bottom of the loop, then remove your finger. While supporting the thread, give the whirl a healthy clockwise spin to cord up the dubbing as shown. From here, advance your tying thread to about 3/4 of an eye's length from the back edge of the hook eye. Once we've spun the rope, you can use the whirl to take stacked wraps to build the thorax. It's easy to crowd the hook eye here, so pay attention. Every few wraps, you should sweep the fibers back as best you can. This part takes practice, but you should reach the tie-in point just as you run out of lush fibers. Upon reaching said tie-in point, take a couple of wraps of tying thread to secure the dubbing rope. Hold the material back and take a few jam wraps to lock everything in. Once everything's secured, you can reach in with a pair of scissors and snip the excess off close. I like to throw in a single half hitch here just to keep everything we just did from unraveling. You can now reach in with a dubbing brush, or here a piece of Velcro glued to a popsicle stick, to brush out the dubbing to create a bushy thorax. Be careful not to nick your thread. Now we can brush the dubbing to either side and fold the pheasant tail fibers over to form the wing case. Without letting go, and while maintaining symmetrical pressure, tie off the fibers with 2 initial wraps, 4 more in front of, and 1 more behind, just to make sure everything's bound down tight. You can then reach in with a pair of fine point scissors and snip off the excess close. Lastly, take as few of wraps as possible to cover the remaining pheasant tail fibers and to create a small head on the fly. Then reach in with your whip finish tool and use it to perform a 3 to 4 turn whip finish, seat the knot well, then snip or cut your tying thread free. For the last time, brush out the dubbing to free as many fibers as possible. Now sweep everything downward for a haircut. I like to trim at the length of a full gap plus the width of the shank. To add a little extra durability to already delicate pheasant tail fibers, I like to add a good drop of head cement to the wing case and to the head. Allowed to sink in and dry, it should at least allow 1 more fish per fly. There you have it, the Steelhead nymph.